Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 7 Wonders of Genshin series. Today, we'll be taking a look at the Nation of Eternity, Inazuma, and some of the wonderful locations it holds. This video will only be going over the islands released in version 2.0, so Narukami Island, Kannazuka, and Yashiori Island. With that said though, let's jump right in. To start off, I'd like to talk about the crown jewel of Inazuma City. This place is known as Tenshukaku, and it is the abode of the almighty Raiden Shogun, the Electro Archon of Inazuma. Naturally, the Raiden Shogun is very important in Inazuma, and the beauty of her palace as well as its location above the rest of Inazuma City reflects her power and influence. At the beginning of this area, you will find the residence of the Tenryou Commission, one of the 3 parts of the Tri-Commission of Inazuma. However, after the Vision Hunt Decree was abolished, the commission was left in disarray due to their leader, Kujo Takayuki, colluding with the Fatui for personal gain during the time of the decree. His son, Kujo Kamaji, is now acting as the clan head and leader of the commission, while his older brother Masahito and adoptive sister Sara continue leading the shogunate forces. This has led to some stability within the commission, and things have slowly begun to return to normal. Getting back to Tenshukaku as a whole, it is quite a beautiful area. It contains many plants and trees, a few small ponds and bridges, and overall amazing architecture. Around halfway up the stairs, you will find the Royal Hot Springs. They were created using a high-efficiency boiler from Snezhnaya in order to mimic the natural hot springs of Natlan. Continuing up to the top of the stairs, you will find the entrance to the personal abode of the Raiden Shogun. Outside of the doors, you will find the Okuzumeshu. These soldiers are known as the bodyguards of the Raiden Shogun. Of course, the Shogun doesn't really need protection. They are instead there to prevent people from getting too close to the Shogun, as if someone entered the forbidden zone of Tenshukaku, she wouldn't care for their reasons. Inside the abode is also of course where the duel between the Traveler and La Senora took place. The duel resulted in the death of Senora, which led some Fatui to stay in Inazuma, trying to find ways to avenge her death. None of their attempts have made much impact so far, and Tenshukaku remains as beautiful as ever. Moving on to just outside of Tenshukaku, you will find the statue of the Omnipresent God, also known as the statue of the 1,000-armed, 100-eyed God. It portrays a currently unidentified god sitting on top of a pillar. The god has giant wings, and these wings have eyes on them as well. It also wears a necklace in a shape similar to an Eye of the Storm, and it bears a resemblance to the figure in the Blessing of the Welkin Moon. From this, many people have suggested that this statue portrays Istaroth, the god of time. I'm not going to go in depth about this here though, I have a whole separate video for that. Anyways, this statue is even more important during the Vision Hunt Decree. When someone's vision was taken, it would then be embedded into the statue, usually within the eyes on the wings. Some visions were not placed in these spots though, including Arataki Ito's vision, which was placed on the pillar that the statue sits on. During the Vision Hunt Decree, the statue was heavily guarded, which made it hard for the Traveler to approach, as they too were wanted under the decree. Of course, the decree was eventually abolished, and all of the visions were returned. This means the statue is now free of visions, and that the Traveler can approach it. The importance of the statue will likely go beyond just being used to hold the visions during the Vision Hunt Decree. As for what it would be used for in the future, it's really anyone's guess. For now, the statue stands tall in Inazuma City, silently watching over all that transpires in the Nation of Eternity. On the other side of Narukami Island on top of Mount Yogo, you can find the Grand Narukami Shrine. Within this great shrine is the tree known as the Sacred Sakura. Similar to the Dragon Queller in Liyue, this fox-shaped tree possesses the glowing blue veins of Irminsul, but once again lacks the signature white bark. Still, the sacred Sakura is an elegant tree whose roots have spread quite far throughout Inazuma, with all of the sakura blooms coming from it. There are also the thunder sakura throughout different areas in Inazuma, which were grafted from some of its side branches. The sacred sakura and the thunder sakura both work to protect Inazuma from evil. They use their roots to absorb filth, which helps to purify the land. However, this accumulated filth does not dissipate on its own, which is why it is necessary to perform a sacred sakura cleansing ritual every 60 years. The ritual involves first purifying the roots of the thunder sakura, then entering the depths of Mount Yogo to purify the central roots of the sacred sakura. As for the origins of the sacred sakura, most people believe that it has been there since time immemorial. However, Raiden A tells us that it only had appeared when she returned to Inazuma with Raiden Makoto's realm of consciousness following the cataclysm. When she asked about it, everyone told her that it was already there, meaning she was the only one to notice that it had appeared out of thin air. Centuries later, A would enter that realm of consciousness to fight for 500 years against the Shogun puppet. After successfully winning the duel, a part of Raiden Makoto's consciousness would emerge from A's blade, Musoujin. She would give A a seed that, when planted, would take root in Inazuma's past and grow to become the sacred Sakura. After these events, Raiden A would speculate that Makoto's plan involved a certain higher power, that being Istaroth. There was a lot of messing with time for the sacred Sakura to grow, so involvement from the god of time would make sense. Either way, the sacred Sakura still stands tall on Mount Yogo, protecting Inazuma from evil and filth. To the north of Mount Yogo, you will find the area known as Araumi. While there are some ancient ruins on the surface, it is what lies below that is truly wonderful. Under the surface, you will find an extensive amount of ancient architecture, which is also found in other areas of Teyvat. These areas include, but are not limited to, Dragonspine, Serai Island, Tsurumi Island, and the ruins of Dahri. This would suggest some sort of link to Khaenri'ah, and the amount of ruin machines located in this area would support that. Araumi is also where the Perpetual Mechanical Array resides, which is a more powerful ruin machine that bears a resemblance to the elemental hypostases. Additionally, there is a ruin crater on the surface that is looking towards Dragonspine. There is also a ruin crater on the shores of Dragonspine, close to where the one in Araumi is looking, so perhaps they sent messages over the sea using these machines. The reason why these ruin machines are so prevalent in Araumi is still unknown though. Besides ruin machines, this area also contains one of the shrines, where a ritual must be performed for the sacred Sakura cleansing. Araumi also holds the domain known as Empty Boats of 1,000 Gates. This domain was actually a mansion owned by the Yogo Tengu known as Raisenbo. Raisenbo would be the one who trained the ones known as the Yogo 3. The Yogo 3 were Asashi Hibiki, Kamuna Harunosuke, and Mikoshi Nagamasa. They were an infamous group in Inazuma 500 years ago, but after the personal tragedies they experienced during the Cataclysm, they parted ways. Hibiki returned to Asase's shrine on Serai Island, Harunosuke traveled to Liyue to learn the ways of the Adepti, and Nagamasa joined the shogunate to restore his clan's reputation. As for Raisenbo, she would fail to protect her friends Mikoshi Chiyo, Takamine the Mistsplitter, and the Kitsune Saigu, and thus returned to the domain to live out the rest of her days. Moving on to the island of Kannazuka, I'd like to talk about the Mikage Furnace. This place is the centerpiece of this island, being a huge and dangerous area. It was built at some point after the death of the serpent god Orobashi, as it uses the crystal marrow and Tarigami energy that was left behind after his death. The furnace uses the resources left behind by Orobashi to produce jade steel, a material that helps make Inazuman swords some of the best around. It was constructed with the help of experts from Fontaine, and is maintained with their help to this day. Xavier is one of the experts that currently resides in Inazuma. Around 400 years ago, there was another supposed expert from Fontaine named Escher who worked on the Mikage Furnace. However, Escher was not who he had claimed to be, and was actually the Fatui Harbinger Illidatore in disguise. He would end up sabotaging the furnace, and would also kill Niwa, then lied to the Kabuki-mono about it. This would eventually lead the Kabuki-mono to joining the Fatui himself, becoming Scaramouche, the balladeer. However, people's perceptions of these events would be altered after the balladeer tried to erase himself from Irminsul. While the true event still happened, the people of Teyvat now know a different story about how the sabotage happened. Anyways, in recent history, the furnace was improved with the help of Alice. However, during the Inazuman Civil War, it would once again fail. This led to Bale Thunder plaguing the area, as well as Xavier putting up a containment dome around the furnace to prevent the dangerous energy from spilling out. With the help of the Traveler, however, the Mikage Furnace was repaired, and the Fatui who were interested in it were also defeated. The Bale Thunder would then disappear, and the containment dome was taken down as well. While it is quite a beautiful place, it can be dangerous, so it is best to view it from afar. On the topic of Bale Thunder though, I'd next like to talk about Musoujin Gorge. Located on the north of Yashiori Island, this gorge is very dangerous and is not natural. It was formed from a strike of the Raiden Shogun's Musono Hitotachi, a strike that also slayed the serpent god Orobashi. I'll talk more about why the Raiden Shogun killed Orobashi in the next section. For now, I'd like to talk about this gorge and how it represents the true power of Raiden A. Not only was her Musono Hitotachi able to kill Orobashi, it also cleaved Yashiori Island in half. It may have also split Mount Yogo as well, but I wasn't able to find anything that confirmed that. Either way, cutting an entire island in half with one strike is impressive enough, but it doesn't end there. The electro power from the strike is still felt in the gorge to this day. Bale Thunder plagues the area, and there's no way to remove it, although the electro grana in the area can briefly protect you against it. There is also the river of electro water, which not even the electro grana can help you against. The river is much more powerful than Bale Thunder, and will take you out much faster. The Musoujin Gorge is the mark of the Raiden Shogun's true power, and is another place that should be viewed from afar. For the final wonder, I decide to talk about the skeleton of the serpent god Orobashi. As I mentioned in the previous section, Orobashi was killed from a strike of the Raiden Shogun's Musono Hitotachi on Yashiori Island. Ever since then, his skeleton has remained there, staring up at the heavens. Orobashi was truly a massive god, with his skeleton stretching all around the island. It starts with his tail in the north, that stretches down to the south, where it then loops back up to the middle, ending at his skull. His skeleton isn't all that remains of him or his power on Yashiori Island, though. His death caused the formation of Crystal Marrow and the Tatarigami, which has been used at the Mikage Furnace. However, it also caused endless rain and thunderstorms on the island, which, combined with the Tatarigami, forced the residents of the island to flee, leaving it almost completely deserted. Now, as for why Orobashi was killed, we start with the Archon War. During the war, Orobashi could not beat the Golden God, possibly Morax, or the Raiden Shogun. Since he was tired of being shamed for blasphemy, Orobashi fled to Teyvat, ending up in an area close to Unkonomiya. He was eventually found by a child of Unkonomiya, who asked him to become their god. He agreed, and began helping the people of Unkonomiya. However, during his time down here, he read the book Before Sun and Moon, which tells of the old world with the Severin Sovereigns, the arrival of Fanes, the creation of the Four Shades, and the war with the Second Who Came. This knowledge was forbidden, and thus Orobashi and his people as a whole were found guilty of multiple crimes. After creating Watatsumi Island, Orobashi would be pressured by his people to invade Yashiori Island, as Watatsumi didn't have the best land for farming, causing starvation among the people. Orobashi eventually and reluctantly agreed and invaded Yashiori Island. As for the crimes of him and his people, he was allowed to take the punishment all for himself. So, Orobashi allowed the Raiden Shogun to kill him, absolving his people of their crimes and allowing them to live under the rule of Celestia once again. Orobashi's story really is tragic, especially because a lot of people misunderstand him. If you want a more in-depth look into Orobashi though, I recommend chill with Aster's recent video on him, which is linked below. Orobashi's skeleton still remains on Yashiori Island to this day, glaring at Celestia. And those are 7 of Inazuma's wonders. As I said at the beginning, this video only went over the first 3 released islands of Inazuma, and the rest will be covered in separate videos. I'll most likely do Watatsumi Island and Ankonomiya together, then Seirai Island and Tsurumi Island together as well. I'd love to hear what parts of Inazuma and other regions you'd like to hear me go over in this series in the comments below as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.